You just go step by step, get into the film, get into the books, get into the plan, study your opponent, and be ready to go.
What have you thought of the minutes that you've seen with Mitchell Robinson and Karl on the floor together? What have you thought about that?
Yeah, it's been, it's a small sample size, but, we've had some good minutes with him, particularly, down the stretch here. I think as Mitch is, starting to get more rhythm, I think it's been good.
Have you seen enough to be comfortable going to it?
It depends. A lot of it depends on, who they have on the floor. Yeah, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, I know you use different guys on it, but is it a common denominator you've seen with Cade, what he's been able to do against you guys this year?
Yeah, I study his game. He's done it against everybody, so we know how good he is, and we have to be ready for him.
At this point in the season, are you implementing anything new during this week, or are you just refining what you've already been working on all season?
Well, I think you have more time, to prepare for a game. So, we have to study and we have to be prepared. But you don't study, how you get ready to play. You just have more time to prepare for the opponent.
Tom, you offered Josh advice from the standpoint of just needing to be confident with his shot. And I feel like in the playoffs last year being a good example, Philly, they gambled by leaving him open. He shot a really good percentage from three, but in the playoffs, it like even psychologically, it just kind of feels like there's more of a toll if you don't shoot or if you're not willing to shoot.
Yeah, and he's a basketball player, so what is he? It's hard to quantify and describe all the things that he does. He's more of a scorer than a pure shooter, but he can shoot, and he's great without the ball. He's great on the break. So just read the game. If you're open, shoot. If you're guarded, make a play, and that's what I like about him. So he can play extremely well. If he's not shooting well, he just keeps going, and that's what we need from him.
Tom, obviously, Cunningham took a big step this year, but when you look at their team, to improve from 14 to 44 wins, just what do you see in their group? They added some vets this year, and some young guys took a step forward.
Yeah, they've had a great season. I think, JB's done a great job there. That they added I think really good veterans to complement, the young players that they have, and a lot of their guys have made big steps. You look at the development of Duran and Stewart, and obviously the obvious one is Cunningham has really played at a very high level. But I think the added shooting has really helped. Schroeder was a really good pickup. Beasley's been unbelievable. Hardaway, so they play both sides of the ball. And you have to be ready. Holland is a really good young player. Thompson is, a terrific defender, athlete, runs the floor. They play hard.
Now, what's the value of having a number of guys that are battle tested, or is there a value to that coach that they know what it takes to win playoffs?
Well, I think when you have experience, you want to say it's good. I mean, you don't. You also want to say it's good. You say it's. We got energy. We got fresh legs. We got. So it's like whatever you have, you try to take advantage of. And I think with most teams, you want to have a blend. And I like the makeup of our team a lot because I feel like we have some good young players. We have some guys that are sort of in the middle, and then we have some really good vets, older guys that are. So you want the older guys to help teach the younger guys. And I think that's what works best in this league.
Tom, one year we've talked about wanting the goal was that this team be playing its best going in the playoffs, being its healthiest going in the playoffs. Clearly, the second part is true. What about the first part?
Yeah. Well, I knew our challenge going into March. When you look at the schedule, it was a heavy road schedule, and Jalen got hurt in the first game. So that the challenge was to get through that, and I thought our guys did. And then we had an unusual April, where we had guys that were out for games, but we also had an unusual schedule with 3 back-to-backs, in that amount of time. So that made it, trying to get Jalen reacclimated, and then there were, we also didn't have certain guys in certain games, so it was hard to build rhythm that way. But that's our reality is just find a way to win.
The first 3 games against Detroit, you were with Kel a lot on Kate, and then the last game with Drive a lot on. I know OG didn't play that way.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you?
well, veteran rider.
I mean, is that accurate?
No, it is, and again, it was probably a byproduct of the people that we had available, because OG was out and Josh was out that game, so like and that was what we were dealing with that night.
Could we see more OG on Kate possibly?
Oh, we could.
What do you like about that idea of putting a big guy like OG on?
Yeah, like when you have like a great player like that, I don't think you give him a steady diet of anything. Like you have to, give him different looks. There's going to be different matchups on him. But we understand we have to guard him with our team. We can't. It's not very difficult to guard guys of that stature individually. We have to do it collectively.
Tom, they're a very physical team, almost a throwback to some of the old Pistons teams. Do you have to be aware not to get caught up in some of that stuff? Like,
it's playoff basketball. This is the nature of what playoff basketball is. So understand what goes into it. We don't have to change the way we play.
Tom, when a guy like Landry finishes the season shooting the way he did really strong, how much do you weigh that last, whatever it was, week or so, when you're thinking about who gets minutes, who doesn't get minutes?
Yeah, like for him, I mentioned this to you guys at the beginning of the year. I thought he had a really strong training camp, and it was unfortunate when he got injured. And then since he's been back and he went through a long rehab, it's been a steady climb. He's playing great basketball right now. So everything matters. Each possession matters, every game matters, and he's playing really well.
To the physicality, I know this is important in every game, but they have 2 centers who set really strong screens and are very strong players. And then Kate obviously being very good in the pick and roll. How important is it to not necessarily match physicality with physicality at the point of attack, but to maybe more so than in other teams, you have to make sure you are fighting through those screens and getting through that?
I think there's, in the playoffs, there's more physicality to it. That's the reality of it. So whatever the challenge is, I understand and study and know, who our opponent is and what we have to do.
Now go to Barb and then Steph will go after last thing.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Give him another shot.
Jalen, let me see if I can get my numbers right. Back played 4 games since the injury, was out for a month. I mean, what is the impact? He looks like, he's back, but, you're used to playing without him on. You play, and then you come back, it's kind of this weird time when you come back. I mean, what does that do to a team to have to go there? I mean, you want him back, but does it kind of take some adjustment?
Yeah, and well, I think that's sort of the nature of our league, is how quickly can you adapt to things. So and you come into a new season, you always have some new faces, and then how do you get everyone onto the same page? So you got to have everyone, pulling together, and then the same thing. Things happen during the course of the season. You can lose a guy for 10 games, and then someone else comes in, and their strengths are different than the guy they're replacing. And we said when Jalen went out that we knew we couldn't replace him individually, that we would have to do it collectively, and I felt that that's what we did. I don't know what our record was. I think it was 11-6 or something like that. But it was, like that was those guys working hard together to find a way to win. And obviously, we want Jalen out there, so that makes us a different team. And then, you got to get reacclimated to that. But that's the challenge of the entire league.
Last one.
Given Jalen's history in big games and going back to college and high school, can you almost take for granted that he's
Never.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, that he's gonna show up and do what.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you guys see it every night. It's just, it doesn't surprise you, and I try not to take it for granted. I appreciate all that he brings to our team, and that he plays to win. His competitive spirit is spectacular. That's all he wants to do, and that's all he's ever been. From when he was a little kid to to where he is today, you know, and that's what makes him who he is.